The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Intermountain Railway Company, where the detail makes the difference. Check out their website at intermountain-railway.com.
Additional support for the What's Neat This Week program is provided by SoundTraxx, industry leaders in DCC sound technology for over 30 years, and two-time Model Railroaders Reader's Choice Award winner for favorite sound decoder with our Tsunami 2. For more information, please visit our website at soundtraxx.com. And as a special thank you to our What's Neat viewers, enter the code WNTW10 for a special 10% off your purchase at soundtraxx.com.
Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show, number 117 for May 23rd, 2020. We're at the end of the May month, guys, and it's been 4 shows in a row. We've all done well. We've come up with a lot of neat material to talk about, and tonight's not going to be any different. There's a lot of things going on. We're still not sure when we're going to get together, although it does appear the entire state of Missouri is now open for business, so I know traffic is a lot more heavy on the roads and people seem happy, so everybody stay safe, and we want everybody to, obviously just enjoy the fact that you're able to get out now, rock and roll. I know it, right, guys? Tonight we've got 4 wonderful guys on with us tonight. First of all, starting on the bottom of the screen, I've got Michael Budde.
Hey.
Hey, Mike. Looking up on top here, I've got Chris Palomarez. Hey, Chris.
How you doing?
Doing good. You got great sound tonight. Over to the other side at the bottom, I see Daniel Smiling Coombs.
How you guys doing?
Doing great. And James Regier. Hey.
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 How's it going?
It's been raining so much here this week, guys. It's been kind of driving me
crazy.
Just a little batty with all the rain. But what I have been doing, now you guys realize when I do my photography outside for the various manufacturers, I use these wooden photo carts. And you've seen those before. This week I've been working on actually rebuilding them. One of them really rotted to the point where it's not rebuildable, but I sanded this one unit that I'm showing you right now down to its wooden finish, took off the 3 coats of polyurethane and the stain that was on it, and started replacing parts, legs and cross braces and different things like that. Just had to go through and replace the rotten wood. And what I ended up doing was I started coloring them with this green solid stain color. This is the one cart now that's been, you just saw a moment ago, sanded. I sat there and I painted every single slat on it and just went through it until I had 3 coats of this solid stain on it. It's called Ponderosa Green. I pick it up at the Home Depot. Now, somebody asked online about these carts and would I do a how-to on what's neat about it. And I think the best way to approach that is to simply give you the dimensions and tell you what their uses are. Here's 3 of them that you can see in this video getting final coated of more stain on them. The largest cart is about 28 inches across and 4 feet high so that it can work with a tripod. And I could put large 4x8 foam scenes on it, get them outside, elevate them, and shoot photography, having everything blend in with the sky. They're also good for, they fit into my vehicle, which is really nice, my big excursion truck, so I can take them live on location and do photo shoots with them. So I found them to be extremely handy for that. The key is that they've got great big wheels on them. I put 4-inch casters on these things, which really facilitates rolling them around and repositioning them as the sun moves. But here I had to build a 3rd one from scratch because of the 4 diorama carts that I've got, one was completely rotted out beyond repair. I couldn't fix it. So I built the new one out of pressure treated lumber, all 2x4s, really heavy. And I sanded it and I routed the corner so that when you grab it, you don't get any splinters in your hand as you're working with it. So it's been the project of the week, just kind of working on these things. And believe you me, it's taken this week and last week to finally complete all of these and get them to look as good as they are, waterproof, ready for the next 10 year of photo shoots, because that's about what I'll get through them. The most interesting thing about it, James, before I let you have it here, is this plastic laminate wood that I put on top of the brand new cart that I built. It's all painted green, but this wood is brown and it comes that way, and it's made out of some sort of a synthetic resin, and it's artificial deck lumber is what it is. And I think it's gonna be rot proof. Not to mention it, the brown color looks really good with the green. So, because another thing is these things double in for is when we've got guests in the backyard, a lot of people like to stand around them and use them for bar tops to put their sodas and their drinks, or if we barbecue, they actually eat on top of them.
Yeah.
And also I found out they're good. I've got a black tablecloth that fits over them perfectly, and we can actually use them inside here when we have an overflow crowd on the show, where we've got the big table with all the microphones on it, which you guys haven't seen in a while, but they're still here. These lapel mics we're starting to use a lot because we got great sound and they're useful. But the carts are useful for photography, they're useful for parties, they have all kinds of purposes, and that's my story this week, and I won't bore you with any more details. But for anybody who wanted to know, those are the dimensions of what they are, and they are functional. Go ahead, James.
I was just going to say those composite deck boards, they should serve you really well, because we actually used them to build a raised bed about 5 years ago. And last year, I repurposed them for a planter out front, just a porch planter. And they were, aside from dirt that had gotten caked on it over the last 5 years, they were pretty much like new. Now, the 2x4 pine that I used on the corners to hold them together, that was almost completely rotted out. But these things didn't show a sign of wear at all. So they should serve you really well.
They're expensive. They're like
sturdy.
17 or 18 bucks for an 8-foot long board.
That they are, and they are heavy.
I remember.
They
Working
are
at the
heavy.
hardware store, they were expensive.
Yes, I went up to the hardware store today. Daniel, you guys are still closing at 6 up there.
Yeah. Yep.
It's nice to have you, Chris. Tell me what's new and exciting in your world. What are you doing today? What are you working on?
Well, I've been working on something a little bit different than my usual fare of SP locomotives and freight cars and stuff. I've been talking to Rand Hood a little bit, and I got going with this D&RGW GP35 pretty hard and heavy. I've so far removed the nose, put on a new cab, started doing some of the finer detail for DRGW 3048. That's one of the GP35s that got a little bit rebuilt by, I think, EMD or one of the major rebuilders at the time, and they put on a bunch of kind of late phase type parts on there. So it has like a raised up dustbin on the inertial, and I went in and put on some Canon radiator grills, and it's starting to shape up, and I'm sending a few photos along so you can kind of roll them while I'm talking there. But another thing that I started doing was I recalled that, hey, I saw this like Rio Grande GP30 back over in Tucson, Arizona in about 96 or so. And I was with my friend Chris Lima, and we just rolled into Tucson back when you can actually get into at least the crew parking area. And I snapped a couple pictures just like right at dusk of, I think it was 3017 over at the fuel rack back then. And, you know, when you think 96, man, that is ridiculously late for an unrebuilt GP30 in service and revenue service at that. So I have, I want to recreate that model. So I've been starting to acquire some parts and things like that to go to town and start working on that. So, you know, one of these days when Rand starts getting hard and heavy on his layout, you know, I'll have something to contribute. So,
well, I really like the lines on those GP30s. Like that was where EMD's design team and General Motors design team just really got together to design this unique locomotive. Like the humpback.
They look like mini bulldogs. You know, they're big in front and little in back. You know, and
yeah.
They're really cool. And you know, when Santa Fe had them, they went like triple stack on them. They put an air conditioner on top of the hump, and that made them even taller looking. So,
Right. Right.
it's been a whole lot of fun kind of jumping into something that I don't usually model, and a couple little Jeeps. About this time, SP, and you can see these little things all over the SP in the late 80s and stuff. So it only makes sense to represent the Rio Grande on the SP. So that's what I've been working.
Yeah. No, that sounds like an exciting project. Now, will it have the gyro lights and all that stuff?
Yep, it sure will. Actually used a new Athearn part that had a 3-pack of 81-inch EMD noses with the gyro light casting in place. Mm-hmm. So, that saved me a whole lot of cutting and pilling and cursing and all that stuff. So I just ended up replacing the whole nose, going for that thing, and, it just made things a whole lot simpler.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
No, I do like. That's one thing I do like. All those nice like detail and spare parts from Athearn that use them all.
Yeah. It's been really handy.
Rand Hood is amazing to talk to on the phone. I mean, every time I talk to him, I get an education because he tells me about his latest project, be it the Moffat Tunnel, his latest models that he's building. Because what he's doing is he's building all the models for his layout before he actually builds his layout.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. He and I really jive well, and it's going to be fun to chat with him some more about some of these projects that he has going on, because inevitably it gets me fired up too.
Sounds like he's the encyclopedia for Denver and Rio Grande. Am I right?
He's greatly knowledgeable, and it's that knowledge is infectious. I'll tell you.
Indeed.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
James, what are you working on, brother? I think it's going to be the Trackmobile still?
Yep, still working on that Trackmobile. And if you'll notice behind me, I have this GP35 here that I did the rotary beacon for. Should be on, just kind of flashing away behind me. And I'm going to actually be using a similar technique for this Trackmobile. Now, the sound card that'll fit into it is the TSU 1100, which has only 4 lighting features. And so you have the forward light, you have the reverse light, you have the 2 strobes, but I wanted to add road flashers. So suddenly we got a 5th feature that we need, because these things drive on the road. It'd be kind of a unique thing. And so what I thought is that, these strobes, you really only need them on, you activate them both at once. You don't really need them to be separate features. And so what I've been doing, I've been working on a code for Arduino to actually make these 2 opposed lighting strobes that, with the timing set just slightly off, so they'll sort of chase each other around. The one thing I want to do yet before I actually program it onto the A-Tiny chip, which will go into the Trackmobile, is I want to figure out how to do the double flash on those strobes, because I think that would look even better if you have the 2 at once. But I did not. I was a history major in college, folks. I didn't do computer programming, so I'm basically teaching myself from the ground up. Fortunately, my wife can help me because she does programming for a living. I married up, I know, but yeah, Allison's been helpful in showing me what I get wrong on the programming, and in other ways too. But yeah, so that's kind of been a fun project, and I tell you, if you get into doing these sort of Arduino and programming things for your layout, they can be a tremendous amount of fun if you get them right. A lot of frustration along the way, but it really feels like you're learning something.
Yeah.
Like it's like learning a whole new language.
James, I was going to ask you, that light effect, are you going to go off direct track power with it being a separate component, or are you going to draw off the light function from the decoder?
So it will draw on the light functions of the decoder. That is, you'll turn on, say, function 3 for the strobes, and it will just be a constant bright that you want this function on.
Right.
Because these A-tiny chips, they like a constant, steady 3-volt current. They don't like the pulse width modulation that you'd see with other lighting functions to get your LEDs to dim or do the other tricks with them.
Right.
And in fact, if you'll remember, just the episode immediately before Christmas of What's Neat, I think it was our 100th episode, I had that Santa's sleigh car, with the flat car with all the reindeer, and I had the idea of putting one of these chips in there with aircraft lights on the sleigh, and it was going to be totally awesome. And it worked great when I hooked up a 9-volt battery to it, but when I put it on the DCC rails, even though I had it rectified, I didn't have the current filtered at all. So it was still getting that pulse width modulation that you get through your DCC power, and so therefore it didn't work properly. So you need to just put it onto any function that you choose on your card, but you leave that function on a constant bright.
Right.
That is interesting. I'm telling you what, every time he talks, I learn something, guys. I mean,
I learned stuff too.
It's amazing, James. Daniel, what are you working on down there?
All right. Well, if you guys are okay with me moving the phone again to show you the progress, I'd rather show you and talk to you about it. All right. So let's go ahead and begin. So I've actually been putting a little bit more green stuff down on the railroad to kind of give it a little bit more color. So I'm going to can you guys see it okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So I'm just using the basic Woodland Scenics method to spray the scenic cement and then just follow up with the different shades of turf. Lift out section right here, I've got it all turfed up, and then I just got, clean lines going down the track. And what I'm doing and making these lines so clean is I'm just putting towels or anything else and kind of temporarily pinning it down so that I can have a straight line so it won't interfere with my ballast. This much of Woodland Scenics products, and I've also got my hill section, because on top of my tunnel here, I'm attempting to make this little town that I've got drawn up to where the train's going to go up the incline right here on my back track of my yard and proceed up. Well, this is a modeled 4% incline from Woodland Scenics. They got those incline sets to where those foam pieces, which I got right here, and these are flexible. So you can easily flex them,
Wow.
like an S-curve or any configuration you need to in order to make the grade. And they come in kits. So you got an incline, and then you got a riser kit. Is also what I used with it, and that's just the steady, this is the Incline Riser. But the main point of it is it's part of their subterranean system. So if you are in the process of making hills or a incline, I'd recommend using a Woodland Scenics Riser.
Now, what percent grade is that Woodland Scenics?
They come in, I think, 3%. They come in 2%, 3%, and then all the way up to 4% inclines. You can get the incline starters, or you can get the whole kit where it goes up to full grade.
That's cool. Wow. It's so neat to see your layout. We've watched it evolve. We watched you build your first layout. And in fact, Daniel, we've literally watched you grow up on the show. It's been an absolute joy. The stuff that we've learned from you and vice versa, it's just been awesome. Mike, before I go to you, I want to say that last week on the show when we did all the microengineering products, which was a lot of fun, and by the way, you guys have been ringing their phone off the hook. Thank you very much. That was a success. Joshua Barton asked whether or not his big boy locomotive would run through the number 5 ladder system. And
yeah.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And what did I do? I showed 89-foot cars going through it, which didn't exactly answer the question. So what I did day before yesterday is I wired up the ladder system down here with a DCC, hooked it up to my layout, and I ran this big boy, number 4014, through it. And I want to show you a video clip of that right now.
Handles it like a champ.
Yeah, I know, right? I had it hooked up with sound, and I started it reversing through it. It was backing up through it. And as you see here, I run the tender, about 3 of the wheels, right off of the diorama before I was able to stop. So thank you, it didn't hit the floor. And then I hit reverse. I know, right? This is why I'm playing the video live so I can narrate it. And I ran it forward, and there was no binding. It ran through perfectly, and that's a 4884 configuration. So after that test,
Well, it's also the tender, Ken. Keep in mind, those centipede tenders is the pinch point on those things. I mean, if it's articulated, you have a little bit of gimme on there, but the tender can be kind of unforgiving sometimes.
no problem. And then the next locomotive I ran was a 484 Northern. This Union Pacific Athearn locomotive here also has the same tender on it. And as I play the video for that, this locomotive had sound. So if there was any problems, you would have heard the sound cut out on this as it moved. And here it goes forward. It goes through the turnout. No binding. Smooth as can be. This one didn't run off of the edge. And then I put it in reverse just to make sure it would go through it backwards the same fashion. And sure enough, it did. So to answer your question, Joshua, yes, your engines and your longest engine with the longest set of wheels will make it through those turnouts. So rock and roll. I know, right?
Eyeball.
That was my exciting video that I shot this week. Mike, please tell us, what is it you've been working on, brother?
Well, I've still been working on this F-body, GM F-body auto rack train, but I got a few questions during the week about my cars with headlights in them. So I took a few photos and put them in Dropbox, and wanted to show you how I did it. I always wanted lights in my cars on my layout, but I didn't want the wires showing. And so I devised a little system of metal pins that fit into sockets on the layout made out of brass tubing. So as some of these photos show, I glue the 4 LEDs inside 0402 LEDs in the appropriate places behind the headlights and taillights, and then run the wires all to these metal or brass pins that I put that come down behind the back wheel of the car, and then there's brass tubes about 2 inches long sunken into the pavement of my layout, and you can just plug these cars right in. And right now they're just powered by 2032 3-volt batteries. So I'd like to figure out a way to, hook electricity up to them so I don't have to keep replacing the batteries or checking on them. But the cars all have the side marker lights that work too, and the parking lights. It's not just the headlights. And
nice.
Some of these the metal-bodied cars were actually not that hard to drill into to make the holes. And then to make the lenses, I would just stretch plastic sprue from model car kits, clear sprue or red sprue, to get the right diameter that I needed to plug the holes, and then just by positioning the one LED in each corner of the car, it makes the headlight and the side marker light and the parking light all operate out of the same LED.
Right. So
it's pretty nice effect at night. It's something that not many layouts have. I keep bugging Vic. Vic Smith's got that beautiful City's Edge layout up in North St. Louis, and
that's a masterpiece.
All these effects, the lights and all this stuff going on in the buildings, but none of his cars have lights in. So we'll have to get together on that project. Yeah. So anyway, that's one thing that I really like about my layout is the lights on the cars. I haven't got the street lights working yet. I got them in, but I don't have them soldered or anything. So
I think that's when everything's wide open and we're all safe doing so. We really ought to do a on location broadcast from his basement, from his lounge, right by that layout of his. It's just a pretty breathtaking experience. It's like a nightclub on the edge of on the edge of what is it? Club 44 is it downtown or by Busch Stadium? It's this hotel that has an upper deck that you can go up to and just have this view of the city, and that's the kind of feel you get from this basement.
I don't know.
What's that?
I said living in St. Louis for 20 years. I don't know what you're talking about. So.
Oh, I can't remember what the club name is. I've only been there once, but
Well, Vic's is a great place to hang out. Just like James says, it's a real. Well, there's plenty of room to hang out and nice tables to set your stuff on, and you could spend hours there looking at Vic's layout and still miss things. So
Yeah,
It's amazing.
when I was first over at Vic's layout, just the attention to detail, and just the textures he got on the streets, the street running, everything. Just man, it all just came together. It's sort of like you're looking out a window at a city or something. Like
Yes.
oh, and man, that's he posted some pictures, I think, on Facebook. He's been taking some time to go in and fix and repair the wiring and clean it up and all that stuff. Just a network of wiring underneath that layout is
breathtaking, huh?
It's a headache in the making.
Wow. Guys, we got June's What's Neat about to come out over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. Next week is a week that we have off. We don't have to do a show, and then we'll start producing the What's Neat podcast, number 118, first week of June. But look forward to watching the video that James Regier made where he took the GP60M locomotive in the Santa Fe war bonnet scheme, added 1 million LED lights to it, added sound to it, printed his own sugar cube speakers. James, you really made a very good 32-minute segment for What's Neat, and you edited that video yourself. Thank you very much. What a hats off to you for doing such a great job on that project. The July What's Neat is now in production. I should have that done actually very soon. And in that video, you're going to learn everything about soldering. All the mysteries about soldering are all going to be answered. Pencil point tip, resistance soldering, soldering rails, soldering structures, how to build things out of brass, how to repair locomotives. We're going to cover it all in July's What's Neat, where we talk about soldering.
You so many years ago did a What's Neat on it, and I'm having a brain fart of which one it is, because you guys know me. I'm almost an encyclopedia that can pull up any episode with the sound.
Are you feeling okay, Daniel?
Oh my gosh. Now I'm worried, Daniel.
No, I'm fine.
It's the best hobby in the world with the best guys in it. You guys, our viewers out there that watch the show, thank you so much for supporting us. This is the What's Neat this week, show number 117, guys. Saying over and out, and let's go run some trains.
All right.
Let's go run some trains.
Let's go run some trains.
All right.